Hello!
Skull-fuckingly boring.
Paranoid tinfoil hat behavior.
The lowest common denominator.
This is so weird, creepy, and depraved. We have an uber gynocentric society. I'm not sure how you can make that case without blatantly lying. Anyway, let's move on. The inevitable feminist zombie apocalypse. That is a brain fart on my behalf. We're obsessed with being racist against white people, and in particular, white, heterosexual, able-bodied men.
And be as racist as possible toward white people by shaming them for their white power and positions of privilege.
Is it possible to be too multicultural? I mean, to actually hate the white, native, indigenous population of a Western nation. Is that possible to hate them that much? You are a fucking fascist. You fucking white supremacist. I'm finding more and more, even as an atheist, I'm agreeing with Christian conservatives.
And for some reason, I was inundated with retweets of Kevin Logan.
Damn right, motherfucker. Hello there, hello there, hello there, and welcome to episode 32 of The Descent of Man-osphere. The series where I take you through the ways in which the Man-osphere and its utterly reprehensible douchebag inhabitants are trying to reverse human evolution and drag us all back into the fucking sea. And today, we're dealing with an Irishman. Et tu Ireland, et tu. Yes, it's computing forever! Otherwise known as Dave Cullen, because that's his fucking name. And I'm not doxing him there, by the way. He's very open about his name. In fact, he actually has an equally shite second channel called The Dave Cullen Show. I wouldn't recommend it. And the reason I tell you his name is because I'm not calling him Computing Forever for the whole fucking thing, okay? I'm going to call him Dave, or possibly Cockface or something, I'm not sure. I'll decide as I go along. Now, even though as a sort of kind of almost part-time MGTOW or something, certainly you're very much an anti-feminist type chap, he very much qualifies for this series. But his channel actually started off as a sort of technology review channel, and although he does the occasional video on that sort of topic in recent times, he is by and large now just a kind of professional anti-feminist dickhead, like so many in this series. Because he realised that throwing red meat to the baying mob of fucking morons, hello morons if you're watching, was very lucrative, and he went where the coin was. And that's not to say that he doesn't believe what he's saying, because I'm sure to some degree he absolutely does, but basically the focus of his channel now is where the money is. Now Dave, even more than most of the people who are featured in this series, loves to smear his opponents with any kind of label or sort of put them into some sort of box that even though most of the time actually doesn't apply to the people he's talking about at all. There is of course the utterly ubiquitous
Social justice warriors.
And social justice warriors. Social justice apologists.
Social justice warriors will...
SJWs are SJWs.
Yeah, that phrase is still as stupid and pointless and ludicrous as it ever was, or even more so than ever, really, given the fact that basically every fucking anti-SJW has also been called an SJW by someone further to the right than they are. Then there is the usual array of generic anti-feminist / anti-SJW buzz phrases.
These manginas, these white knights, just when these horrible, overweight, butt ugly, blue-haired, purple armpit-haired, smelly, disgusting feminists. Next story is from Cook Capital of Planet Earth, White Knight.
Now, our beta regressive liberal mangina white knights.
Yeah, those ones totally weren't stale and boring already 5 fucking years ago. Then there is one of Dave's particular favourites.
The far left, politically correct, regressive liberal movement has
The regressive left, the regressives, about the regressives, right? Regressives now.
the insanity of the regressive left. Is
Yeah, he absolutely fucking loves that one. Jesus Christ. Some of his videos, every other fucking word is regressive. Regressive this, regressive that. It doesn't actually fucking mean anything when Dave's using it anyway, but he applies it to basically everything which is slightly different or in any way deviates from his version of what reality is. Which is not actually fucking reality in any real sense at all. And he's even got a series called Regressive News, which is basically like Sargon of Akkad's This Week in Stupid, but even more reactionary, if you can imagine such a thing. Then there is Dave's absolute fucking favourite tip-top word to call somebody who disagrees with him in any way whatsoever.
They are obviously cultural Marxists.
Marxist,
Another Marxist.
of Marxist philosophies, Marxist ideologues.
Marxism is Marxism is Marxism.
This Marxist form of social justice, and the feminists of today are cultural Marxists.
Yes, he really is rather fond of throwing that one around at basically anyone, regardless of if they are actually Marxist in any way whatsoever, to the fucking point where he called Sargon of Akkad a Marxist. Yeah, this actually fucking happened.
Okay, so some time ago, Mr. Carl Benjamin, Mr. Sargon of Akkad, produced a video entitled something like A Temporarily Embarrassed Believer. And the crux of it was this. You look at the likes of Aaron Ra, Steve Shives, and Matt Dillahunty, and these are atheists with a laser beam-like rational focus when it comes to debating the existence of God. They're brilliant. They're right up there. But they have adopted another religion by drinking the Kool-Aid of feminism. Feminism is now their religion. And I'm going to draw a similar comparison now between them and Carl Benjamin's thinking, because Carl, you are also an embarrassed believer. All right, your Marxism, okay, is economic Marxism.
Yeah, he went there. This crazy fucking dickhead really went there. He seems to think that the classical liberal, that means conservative by the way, Sargon of Akkad, is somehow a Marxist. What a fucking dumbass. I mean, that's beneath refutation. It's so obviously fucking absurd. And even though I don't think he ever actually retracted that claim, he did sort of apologise for the way in which he went about it. So that's something, I suppose, shows that maybe he's human on some fucking level. And why exactly did he react in that way and cause a whole big fucking drama thing? It was a few months ago now. It was because Sargon of Akkad went on, I think he was drunk at the time, Sargon. It certainly seemed that way. I don't know. He went on a live stream that Dave was doing and basically fucking ruined it. And Dave got so unbelievably fucking butthurt that he went on this massive tirade about how Sargon was a Marxist and all of that. And it's weird that Dave would get offended in that way, because apparently,
If you're a regressive, then you believe people's right to feel comfortable should come before free speech. This is a highly dangerous belief system because offence is never given, it's only ever taken.
but that's okay, because Dave's only ever taken offence that one time. And all these other fucking times.
How dare you lecture him on how to do his job as if he's some kind of racist monster who has forgotten his fundamental responsibilities to the American people? This is a disgusting attempt at virtue signaling through public shaming and disparagement. The belief that men should be educated on how not to rape is just about the most offensive and libelous thing I can think of. While feminists can rail on everything men do, like shaming their healthy sexual desires towards women, finding everything they do problematic or sexist, drinking from male tears mugs, calling for women to be paid more than men, pushing for affirmative action to benefit women, and tweeting #KillAllMen, you shouldn't be subjected to this kind of harassment by the staff, or in this case, for Mike Pence, the members of the Hamilton production. I should think you have the right to feel pretty aggrieved by that. They're obliged to provide you with what you paid for, entertainment, in this case, the show. Nowhere on your ticket stub does it say, free reverse racist finger-pointing witch hunt and passive-aggressive political sneak attack bullying session thrown in free of charge.
Major problem. And also, it's not only racism against white people, and they're obsessed with being racist against white people, and in particular, white, heterosexual, able-bodied men.
Oh, Dave, did the nasty people hurt your feelings? Oh, you special little snowflake. You could just, get over it, I suppose. But anyway, let's get this bit out of the way, shall we? Yes, it's the almost inevitable bit about Lacey Green. Ba-ba-ba-wee! And it's relatively slim pickings when it comes to Dave's attacks on Lacey Green, even though it seems that she's absolutely perfect, right in his sort of wheelhouse, as it were, for attack videos and response videos and all that sort of usual shit. I don't think he's ever actually made a video about her. He may have mentioned her in a video that I didn't see or something, but I don't think he's ever done like a direct response to her or anything. So instead of looking at a video, we're going to have a little look at a recent tweet of his.
So this is some shit he sent out a couple of weeks ago. It says there, the intellect of Lacey Green fans, and then pointing to a link to an Undoomed video. Yeah, and it was as unenlightening as every other fucking Undoomed video. But anyway, it seems that both Undoomed and Dave were taken in by a fucking troll. I mean, she was obviously a troll. So yeah, you want to talk about the intellect there, aren't you, Dave? But what's interesting about this one is it's called Snowflake Proves the Fall of Civilization is Near. I mean, how fucking melodramatic do you want to be?
And while we're on the topic of needless and fucking pointless apocalyptic shitbaggery, it would be remiss of me not to remark upon the fact that Dave is something of a conspiracy theorist.
What Sadiq Khan did when he introduced that ban on the sexy images, objectifying women and tubes, you know, the posters and all that, the Beachbody Ready stuff. And he said he did it under the guise of feminism, but we know that he was actually just using feminism as a smokescreen for it was a kind of a Trojan horse for Sharia. She hates Germany. She hates the countries that she's the chancellor of. She hates Europe. She absolutely hates white people, obviously, and wants us all to be replaced. Of course, we know at this point Facebook is basically just a regressive propaganda machine.
You get something that Western Marxist policymakers simply don't want to face up to.
I want to get into this because where a lot of this is coming from is the feminist Marxist indoctrination of young people. The championing of diversity and tolerance in Western countries are nothing more than political euphemisms for the gradual and systematic replacement of the indigenous populace. The second method, which the Bilderberg Group are due to discuss this week in Dresden, is the possible introduction of an ID card system, a digital internet ID for all users.
Yeah. And what's most galling about all of that is the fact that he likes to think of himself as a skeptically minded person. Yeah, seriously, he's described himself in that way many fucking times. What a pretentious prick. But ultimately, when you boil it down, he's little better than Alex Jones and all the rest of the fucking tinfoil warriors. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? Because now it's time for... Yes, it's the inevitable bit about rape. And for Dave's inevitable bit about rape, we're going to take a look at a claim that he's picked up from somewhere.
You know, basically what they said is literally, we want to lift the mask off of these anonymous people. Doxing's one of the worst things that you can do to somebody nowadays because they can lose their livelihood completely, particularly if it's like a false rape claim. And they're rife these days, of course.
So essentially, there are two claims being made here. Firstly, that rape is prevalent in modern society. And secondly, that it's more prevalent than it was in the past. So I assume that, given the extraordinary nature of the claims being made there, Dave, you've provided us with extraordinary evidence, right?
Oh, right. There are literally zero links to any evidence for that ridiculously extraordinary claim. Intriguing.
So you got nothing. Literally fucking nothing. To quote a man that I know you respect a lot, in fact you've actually quoted him many times in your videos as well, that being the late Christopher Hitchens, that which is asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. Dickhead. Okay, I added dickhead there, but you get the idea. Now, along with Marxists and feminists, who he considers to be Marxists, and liberals, who he considers to be Marxists, and Sargon of Akkad, who he considers to be a Marxist, and basically everyone else in the fucking world who disagrees with him, who he considers to be Marxists, Dave also hates socialists. Now, Dave, socialists and Marxists are not necessarily the same fucking thing, okay? Some Marxists are socialists, some socialists are Marxists, but they're not the same thing, okay? But I wouldn't expect you to know that because you're a fucking idiot. But anyway, right, the basic point is he hates socialists.
woman who describes herself as a socialist and a feminist. That's about all you need to know. It seeks to enforce socialist principles. This is how you create self-entitled socialism. After traveling the globe, he realizes socialism doesn't work. Catherine Cotel, a socialist deputy of the National Assembly, keyword there, socialist.
Now, given his disdain for socialists, his constant quoting of a certain author seems a little bit out of place.
It actually sounds a lot like the Ministry of Truth from 1984, doesn't it? But it's getting more and more Orwellian. I know that term has been thrown out around a lot lately, but this is literally the memory hole that Winston spoke about in 1984. It kind of reminds me of 1984. It's very creepy, that unlearned, it's very 1984. What the fuck is this speech control? It's like Newspeak from 1984. Before long they're running the show. This is the story of Animal Farm. They overthrow the establishment from beneath. It gets devoured by the social justice warriors.
Now, Dave, and this goes for all you right-wing dickheads out there who like to quote Orwell constantly. Given your hate for socialists and your fucking boner for quoting Orwell, often out of context and often you yourselves embody the very things he was fighting against. But that's by the by, right? Your constant quotations of him are fucking ludicrous in the light of your hatred for socialists. Because Orwell was a fucking socialist, you dickheads. But I wouldn't expect you to know that, Dave, because, you know, as previously mentioned, you're an ignorant moron. Now, Dave is the absolutely fucking archetypal free speech warrior.
Threat to free speech anywhere is a threat to it everywhere. Fuck your feelings. All speech matters. Freedom of speech and free speech. Free speech. Freedom of speech. Free speech is freedom of speech. And you begin with speech, you begin with curtailing people's speech, and all of their other civil liberties fall like dominoes thereafter. The truth is, free speech must come with no clause or caveat.
You heard him. Free speech must come with no clause or caveat. Unless Dave decides otherwise.
Leftists lose their minds over Professor Watchlist created to expose liberal indoctrination on campus. Oh, how sweet this is. The reason social justice has to be banned is not just because its information is genuinely inaccurate, bigoted, and harmful to political discourse, but because it generates witch hunt activism. So recently, Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad, created a Change.org petition calling for social justice-based courses to be banned on university colleges. I completely approve of this, and I'll explain why, though I think I shouldn't have to at this point.
Yeah, that's right. A threat to free speech anywhere is a threat to free speech everywhere. Unless Dave decides that it's politically expedient to shut down the civil liberties of those he dislikes. What a jumped up little fascist prick he is. And allied to his free speech fucking bullshit is his hatred for political correctness.
All this political correctness, PC nonsense for political correctness. Political correctness? Political correctness. The political correctness of politically correct. Political correctness machine.
Yeah, he talks about political correctness all the fucking time, as if it's the very root of all evil, rather than a system of formalised politeness which is meant to include previously excluded societal outgroups. But as we've seen with Dave, and indeed other pricks like him who constantly rail against the fucking evils of PC culture, that what they're after isn't actually free speech, okay? Because as Dave has shown, he's not remotely interested in free speech. As soon as it's politically expedient, he will try and shut down anyone who disagrees with him. So they're not interested in fucking free speech. What they want is consequence-free speech. They want to be able to be as racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, etc. as they bloody well like, without people calling them out on it. But guys, that's not how it fucking works, okay? You have the free speech to be as bigoted as you like, and I have the free speech to then say, can you please stop being a bigoted piece of shit? And if you really don't like being called a bigoted piece of shit, you could always, you know, stop being a bigoted piece of shit. It's just a thought. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? Because I think it's time to take a look at one of Dave's videos. This one's entitled, Liberal Gender Madness, It's Getting Worse. Yeah, I'm sure this will be interesting. Well, obviously I think it's going to be interesting, otherwise why would I put it in the fucking video? I mean, that's, you know, whatever.
So when I make these off-topic videos talking about the insane asylum that is the radical, progressive, liberal left, the social justice warriors, the feminists, all those people.
Now, Dave, I know you don't understand what words mean, okay? I mean, you've shown that with your fucking regular bouts of Marxism, Tourette's, or whatever the fuck that is. But please try, please try to use words correctly, okay? Because the radical, progressive, liberal left isn't a fucking thing, okay? It's word salad, for fuck's sake.
Sometimes you can make a laugh out of it, you know, but I have two stories here that are far from laughing matters, and they actually make me sick to my stomach.
Oh wow, this story made you sick to your stomach. I mean, it must be fucking huge news then. I mean, was it, I don't know, some sort of act of treason against the nation on behalf of someone who was previously a national hero or something? Was it maybe, I don't know, some sort of local pedophile ring? Or some sort of fucking heinous, brutal mass murder or something? I mean, it must be something really huge, Dave. Tell me what the news is.
So we're going to start off with a story of Target. Now, Target in America, they have decided to remove gender-based labeling off their products in their stores.
Are you fucking serious? Are you... This is the story that made you sick to the pit of your stomach. Can you fucking believe this guy, Rory Katz?
Oh my god, what a fucking prick.
Yeah, he is a fucking prick. High five. But anyway, are you fucking serious? I'll get you some chicken in a minute. Okay? I'm just doing the thing. Just chill, man. Anyway, are you really fucking serious? I mean, what kind of mental case are you to, I don't know, talk to a fucking cat on camera? No, but seriously, what kind of fucking absolute lunatic must you be to be that emotionally affected by such an absolutely insignificant thing? That story is not going to make any impact on your life whatsoever. So why the fuck did you have such a huge response to it? I mean, you're such a fucking dickhead.
This is what's happening in the United States, again, with identity politics. More and more we're seeing discussions about how we need to have gender-neutral bathrooms, and that the terms male and female on the doors, they're, you know, that's somehow restrictive or whatever it is, and how that's politically incorrect. And yeah, because that's exactly what women want. They, you know, they really want men to be able to just walk straight into their bathrooms, a place where they should feel completely safe and everything else, and not exposed to that. We do need a certain level of gender segregation for very obvious reasons.
Why is that, Dave? Are you suggesting that men aren't safe to be around? Because, I mean, that sounds incredibly misandrist, you feminazi man-hating scum. You see what I did there? Yeah. And by the way, don't listen to this fucking dickhead, okay? There are loads of places in Europe that have unisex bathrooms, and they get on just fine. Like all right-wing blowhards, he's just trying to scare you.
It's very important. We are sexually dimorphic, and studies show that boys prefer rough and tumble play even before they're socialized. And not to say that you don't get crossover, sometimes there's exceptions in those rules, but just because a boy plays with a doll or a girl plays with an action man doesn't mean that they're transgender.
Nobody said that that does make them transgender. I mean, that has to be the most embarrassingly fucking transparent straw man that has ever been constructed. You are fucking ludicrous, you really are. Not just that, but the fact that you've resorted to such a pathetic straw man suggests to me that your understanding of this topic is about as deep as a fucking paddling pool.
The company says the decision to remove the gender labeling was as a result of feedback and suggestions from customers. Yeah, right. This is basically a large group of social justice warriors who bitched and moaned at Twitter and Facebook. That's all this is. They got onto your corporate Facebook page and they gave you some political correct BS and you went, oh God, sorry, we better not offend anybody. Yeah, let's do exactly what you want us to do.
Firstly, Dave, you can't dispute the fact that they made this decision due to customer feedback and then say, oh, well, you only made this decision because of customer feedback from this one particular group. I mean, can you not see what an obvious contradiction that is? I mean, you've just made yourself look a right fucking idiot yet again. And secondly, you know that SJWs, I mean, whatever the fuck social justice warrior as a term even really means anymore, you've stretched Marxist beyond belief, and SJW has been stretched even further fucking still, but whatever that actually means, right, SJWs are human beings who have money, some of whom will spend money in Target stores. And so Target, as a company, need to be responsive to that demographic. That demographic got in touch with Target and explained something that was negative about their shopping experience with Target. So I really don't see what your particular problem is here, okay? Customers of a store complained to a store, the store changed in order to accommodate those people. That's the end of it. Why is this made you sick to your stomach? I mean, That's ridiculous. That's so fucking stupid.
The move comes after Abby Betchel, a mother from Ohio, tweeted a photo in June of gender-based signage at a Green, Ohio Target that sparked a conversation on gender-based signs in retail stores. Target is not saying that genders don't exist, just that they're really not relevant at all. And they're clearly a social construct, right?
Right, whatever you think of the concept of gender as a social construct, you fucking snarky little prick, right? Whatever you think of that concept, one thing that is for absolute fucking certain, the concept of certain toys being for certain genders is definitely a social fucking construct. And as a social construct, we can fucking change it, and they are. So get the fuck over it, you dipshit.
They are simply recognizing that toys and bedding do not have genders. Mingling superhero action figures with other dolls isn't going to cause children to suddenly question who or what they are. How far can this liberal madness go?
A lot further. A hell of a lot further. And I am going to enjoy you freaking out at every little fucking change. It's going to be a lot of fun, you bigoted little prick.
Let's move on, because the next story is infinitely more disturbing.
Well, frankly, Dave, given the absolutely fucking boring nature of the story you just told us, a story of someone being stung by a wasp or farting on the fucking bus would be infinitely more disturbing than the one you just told us.
It comes right out of Channel 4 Thinking in the UK. This is from lifesitenews.com, and I'll again include the link below. So the latest sex ed insanity has school children writing a porn movie. This is what I talked about. Depraved, right?
Ah yes, his source for this is LifeSite News, an ultra-conservative, pro-life, right-wing, fucking creationist dog shit of a website. So this is definitely a credible source that a skeptically minded person would use as an unbiased fucking retelling of the story, right? Now, whilst this story might seem a bit fucking weird at first glance, given the nature of the headline that's just been read out there, it's actually far more complex and understandable than that. Firstly, the kids involved were not young children or anything, they were 15 and 16-year-olds. So these kids will be young adults who have already been exposed, mostly anyway, to hardcore pornography, and it is precisely because of their exposure to hardcore pornography and the inherent untruths about the nature of normal sex that are in hardcore pornography that these classes are being taught in the first place. Also, it wasn't writing a porno, it was rewriting the script for a softcore porn film in order to edit out the bits of misinformation that were in there that give kids an unhealthy and frankly fucking dangerous view of sex, which doesn't match up with real life. So it's not exactly them showing interracial fucking gangbang pornography to a group of toddlers or something. So once again, Dave, you fucking propagandist arsehole, you were sickened to the stomach by the story of educators trying to educate their pupils about an incredibly important and controversial issue that they will deal with in their lives. I mean, your priorities are incredibly fucking skewed.
A classroom Q&A with students reveals that Lycans and other reformers want to hear the boys are not ignorant, but they are seriously misinformed about sex because pornography is their main source of information. How do you know that?
Because these kids have got the internet, you dickhead. Kids these days have access to and consume a lot of hardcore pornography. Why would you even try and pull that fucking sneaky bullshit move here? No amount of your fucking pseudo-skeptical citation needed fucking bullshit is going to get you out of the fact that this is a fucking issue that's going to have to be dealt with by society, okay?
But in the last election, the Labour and Liberal Democratic parties in the UK both called for compulsory sex education in both primary and Christian schools, and Labour insisted schools teach that homosexuality is as morally acceptable as heterosexuality. Labour MP Yvette Cooper said universal sex education is the first step to combat homophobic and transphobic bullying. Now, yes, bullying goes on. Bullying is a terrible thing. I was bullied in school too. A lot of people were. But we also can't completely have a zero tolerance policy.
Hang on a minute then, Dave. You're saying we can't have a zero tolerance approach to bullying of gay and trans folk. Right. So, in your world then, Dave, what level of physical, emotional and psychological abuse and torture should we be legally allowed to inflict upon gay and trans people? That's the ultimate conclusion that we come to. If we're not going to do zero tolerance, what you're saying is we should tolerate some level of abuse against gay and trans folk. So I'm asking you, how far does it go? Is it just verbal? What about, should we be allowed to go up and punch them in the face? Should we be allowed to go up and stab them, set them on fire, fucking blow them up with a nuclear bomb? Where along that fucking gradient do you think we should stop? You fucking jumped up little fascist prick.
This is where microaggressions come from. People want to be wrapped in bubble wrap. We do this to our kids, and then these kids grow up and they're extremely weak and fragile, and they expect the world to work exactly the way it was when they were given an armchair ride in school, when they were super protected in a security blanket type situation. To try and control 99% of people, whatever it is, based on a tiny minority of people, and control public discourse and all of their behavior, and assume that by default everybody is a bully and everybody is a bad person and every boy is a rapist, and to just give boys Ritalin to control their natural male behaviors because, as I say, they prefer rough and tumble play and they're more aggressive and they're more this and they're more competitive. All of this going on is a social engineering. It's totally self-destructive. It's totally Orwellian. It's fucking Marxist.
OMG, he thinks it's fucking Marxist. Well, bugger my arse with a feather. I am totally fucking shocked.
This is what we're dealing with at the present time. It's infested academia, this progressive liberal thinking. I'm not a conservative.
You're not a conservative. Oh, just fuck off. Seriously, just fuck off. You don't get to spout constant fucking conservative talking points and introduce us to fucking sources from pro-life fucking ultra-conservative websites constantly. You don't get to fucking wank off pricks like fucking Breitbart and Infowars and then say you're not a conservative, okay? You're a Tory scumbag. Just deal with it. And also fuck off. Mainly fuck off, yeah. But anyway, I'm fucking done with this prick anyway. Let's wrap this shit up. Right, Dave, you are a properly nasty, bigoted, fascist little fuck, okay? I've got no time for you. Your argumentation is fucking shit, constantly. You basically are absolutely in favour of white, straight, able-bodied men running the fucking world as they used to. I mean, they only run 95% of the world now, and that pisses you off. You're basically a cum-in-a-garden fucking fascist. But what's really pathetic is you don't even have the honesty to just admit that. You try and pass yourself off as some sort of true liberal. It's absolutely fucking pathetic. You are a shameful scumbag. That's all that really needs to be said about you. You really are human garbage. So, Dave Cullen, computing forever. Cockface. Go fuck yourself.
Well, let me tell you, fascist, you may be surprised. The people in this world are getting organized. You're bound to lose, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. You're bound to lose, you fascist, bound to lose. Raise hatred cannot stop us. This one thing we know. Your poll tax and Jim Crow and greed has got to go. You're bound to lose, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. You're bound to lose, you fascist, bound to lose. There's people of every nation marching side to side, marching across the fields where 1 million fascists died. You're bound to lose, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. You're bound to lose, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. Oh, you fascist, bound to lose. You're bound to lose, you fascist, bound to lose.